Hi my fellow YouTubians. As promised in my flashcard video, I wanted to make a video about Black Swan, which is a movie that just opened last weekend. This is directed by Darren Aronofsky, and I was going to talk a little bit about some of his previous movies, so I will kind of make this a condensed version of a director's series. Aronofsky is from New York, and most of his movies that he's made are set there. His first film was a movie called Pi, which is not like pi as an apple pie, but the mathematical formula known as pi. And it is about a mathematician and kind of a recluse and shut-in, played by Sean Gillette, who lives in this tiny little apartment in New York City, which is full of computers and other equipment, looking for a magical three-digit number that will unlock the mysteries of the universe. It's something that he came across briefly, but didn't realize the significance of. And only later did he realize that this could not only help decipher the Torah and unlock and find patterns in the stock market, but it could be the key to a lot of other things as well. So he becomes obsessed with discovering this number again. This is a very, very low-budget movie. It's Darren Aronofsky's first film. And it was shot in black and white for a small amount of money, high contrast black and white. I've seen this movie a couple of times, but I'm not all that fond of it overall. I will say it establishes a pattern that is set later on by Requiem for a Dream, which was his second movie. And this is probably one of those most well-known movies in that it is very intense and emotionally brutal experience. It's about 4 drug addicts in New York, 3 of which are on heroin and are all sort of friends with each other. And the 4th person is one of the main character's mother, played by Ellen Burstyn. She's on diet pills, which are really messing her up. The whole experience of this movie is about people who are trying to achieve something beyond their status, but are hindered by the fact that they are addicted to whatever it is that they're addicted to. And the last half hour of this movie is a brutal, brutal experience in which each character, they're all sort of in separate locations at that point, but each of them is descending into their own personal and extremely painful hell. And the cross-cutting between the 4 people is just relentless. One person's in prison, one of them is forced into prostitution, one of them has this horrible infection in his arm from shooting up heroin all the time, and of course the mother is now in a hospital getting electroshock treatment. It's something else, and quite an intense experience. And after that movie, Aronofsky tried to put together a big budget epic called The Fountain, which Brad Pitt was going to star in, but at the last minute Brad Pitt decided that he didn't want to make The Fountain and that he wanted to do Troy instead. Thanks very much for that, Mr. Pitt. So they scrapped the whole production, they tore down all the sets, a whole bunch of people were out of work, which was really disappointing. But eventually Aronofsky, some years later, managed to put the film back together on a much smaller scale and got Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz to star in it instead. And this is probably my favorite of Aronofsky's movies, although it isn't perfect. There are 3 different timelines in The Fountain. One takes place in the present. Hugh Jackman is a doctor. He's doing cancer research because his wife, Rachel Weisz, has an inoperable brain tumor. And then there is a storyline that takes place in the past, in which Hugh Jackman plays a Spanish conquistador who is dispatched by his queen, also played by Rachel Weisz, to travel to South America to find the Tree of Life and the substance within that will help prolong a life for all people. Because the Spanish Inquisition is encroaching on her territory, led by a religious zealot who insists that all human beings must live life as and die as human beings are meant to by God, and therefore what the Queen is trying to achieve is heresy. So there's that storyline, plus there is a storyline set at an indeterminate point in the future in which Hugh Jackman is traveling in a very strange kind of spacecraft with the Tree of Life embedded into a rock of soil, traveling through the galaxy on its way to a distant star. Very, very strange movie, and some of the storylines tend to bleed into each other. Not just the fact that, you know, the main character is in all 3 storylines, in a sense, but there's a lot more going on than that. It's full of metaphor. I consider this sort of like a poem in movie form. It's not something that you would take literally, at least I don't. But very, very interesting. And one of my favorite movies of that year came out in 2006. Unfortunately, that movie did not do all that well. It didn't make very much money, and so Aronofsky, after that, downshifted into making The Wrestler 2 years later with Mickey Rourke. This is very, very different from his previous movies in that it isn't sort of one of those rigidly stylistic movies. He shoots a lot of it with handheld cameras, a lot of improvisation. It's very, very different from his previous 3 movies. But it was a big success, and Mickey Rourke got a Best Actor nomination and sort of revitalized his career. And now Aronofsky has found that he is able to do, more with that as well because of the success of that movie. I'm not a real big fan of The Wrestler. It's a decent movie, but it's a sports comeback movie, and I expect different things from Aronofsky. Now, the recent film that just came out, of course, is Black Swan, and there's at least one critic that I've read who said that this is probably a film that is most like his first film, Pi, as any of the others, and I kind of agree with that because it is also about obsession, whereas the mathematician in Pi was trying to find this 3-digit magic number. In this movie, in Black Swan, Natalie Portman, who's a ballerina in New York, is obsessed with achieving perfection in her performance and taking on the dual role of both the White Swan and the Black Swan in this new production of Swan Lake. The problem is that her perfectionism and her dedication are make her very well suited to playing the White Swan, the virginal good girl of the story. The Black Swan is one who's more given over to passion and spontaneity, which is something that Natalie Portman's character is not all that good at. In fact, since she still lives with her mother at the age of 28 or whatever, and really doesn't seem to have a life outside of that, it's implied that she is very sexually and romantically inexperienced and doesn't know how to handle those kinds of social interactions. She's a very sort of uptight and kind of scared character. And a lot of people are saying Natalie Portman will win Best Actress for this, or at least will probably be nominated. And I say she's very good at playing this character, although I find the character to be pretty annoying just because she's so incredibly uptight. She has a sort of rivalry and also a fascination with another ballerina played by Mila Kunis, which manifests itself in a number of rather R-rated ways. But in the end, she is mostly just competing with herself and trying to please the director, played by Vincent Cassel, a French actor who was the villain in Ocean's 12. I love Vincent Cassel in this movie. Every single moment he's on screen, no matter if he's talking or not, you can always tell what he's thinking. When Natalie Portman's doing her routine and he's watching her, you can tell when he's frustrated right away. You can tell when he's not happy with what it is that she's doing. It's all over his face, and he's great in this movie. The acting in general is really good, and the dancing is really good as well. I'm a little unhappy with the fact that Aronofsky is still shooting with handheld cameras. This makes it, I guess, easier to... I guess he's more interested in spontaneity now than he was when he made his first 3 movies, but watching the dance sequence from on stage with the camera diving and sweeping in between the actors as they're performing, I don't know, it's not my favorite way to watch a dance routine. I prefer to stay a little farther away so I can see more of what's going on, but you know, that's an aesthetic choice, I suppose. But it's not something that I'm particularly fond of. I don't really know how fond I am of this movie in general. It's easy to admire, but I don't really know that I like it or not. As the film goes on, Natalie Portman gets more and more unhinged, and she starts to question what's really happening around her. The stuff that she's seeing happening around her and to her seem like it could be hallucinations. And there's a certain point in the movie when you just know that what she's seeing isn't actually happening because stuff is moving around her that isn't supposed to be moving. So the chances are that she's losing a grip on reality is actually quite strong. So I'm not sure if I recommend this movie or not. I would recommend it just on the fact that it is unusual and certainly not a typical film about people in a dance company, for that much at least. So I'd say it's worth checking out for those who are, who have more adventurous tastes. The heck is that, man? My sink is like, I don't know if you can hear that or not. So anyway, yeah, I still have a couple other movies that I'm very interested in seeing this weekend. One of them is 127 Hours with James Franco, who might get a Best Actor nomination. And Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor are in I Love You, Philip Morris, which just came out here, which I'm very interested in as well. And of course, coming up, there's The Fighter with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. That looks very good. True Grit by the Coen brothers with Jeff Bridges, and also Jeff Bridges is, of course, in Tron Legacy, which is going to be very exciting. And Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. That's what I've been looking forward to in the coming weeks. So, thanks very much for watching. Take it easy. Oh, one more thing. Last I checked, I have 194 subscribers. I'm so close to getting 200. That's really exciting. So thank you very much for subscribing and for watching. Take it easy.